Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers McKay.
And we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to help make it one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy podcast. Today is Tuesday, the 20th of April, 2021. Happy Tuesday, Kristy. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Just another Tuesday. I was reading an article the other day about the anxiety of going back into the world and how our human brains are not very good at categorizing risk.
Okay.
We're more afraid of things like plane crashes and shark attacks,
Right.
which are relatively rare. But then we get in our car and we're happy to drive across the country or drive everywhere we go when more people die of car crashes than they do, like far more people.
Right.
Or, or based on chemical pollution, right? Chemical pollution is also a really massive killer of people, but it's not rare and it's not unusual. It's one of those risks that we just accept to have the lifestyle that we like to enjoy.
Right.
So now that the vaccines have come out, I mean, I mentioned, I think on the pod that I got my second dose last week, which means that, within 2 weeks I will be fully vaccinated. I know we have exciting news. Like everyone on the pod has been listening. Got yours, right?
I know, I did. So everybody on the pod has been hearing about my challenges, and I would like to thank Austin Vaccine Finders, a Facebook group that was created by an extraordinary individual who really wanted to help people locally get their vaccines. She posted later on Friday afternoon that they're at the local Walgreens near my home. Vaccines were available. So I quickly clicked through, scheduled an appointment, and I did in fact have my first vaccine yesterday. So I am, like you, on the road to being fully vaccinated. And
feels better. There's a psychological shift. That's great. But yeah, I still haven't done hardly anything, and I'm not considered fully vaccinated. But a lot of my friends who are, or my parents, the older people in my life who've been fully vaccinated for a long time, they're still too afraid to get their hair done or too afraid to go and sit in a restaurant outside because they've become accustomed to being trapped in their houses,
Right.
And I can totally relate to that. I mean, thinking about going back to work in the office where there's a big part of me that craves it, but there's another part of me that's like, wait. I don't know if I feel comfortable with that yet. Yeah. Right. And so there's this psychological shift that's going to be slower to reacclimate ourselves to close social contact.
Well, and again, I think it's going to look differently, right? Or it's going to have a different experience because, I don't anticipate any time in the near future going back regularly to work in an office. I'm a confirmed remote worker. That's part of, being a mom and doing what I'm doing and also where I live. I moved across country, so it's not like I'm coming back to the office in Santa Barbara every day.
You're in what they call a Zoom town now.
Exactly. I am in a Zoom town. But I think even when you do return to office, Kristy, it's going to be less density, right? We're not going to have, we had at the old Optimist Daily office when we were launching, we literally had 6 people in a conference room, right? Yeah. We had a conference room on one side with a wall divider, and the young woman, Lauren, and I shared literally a corner where oftentimes the baby was on the floor in the corner with us. I mean, it was that's not going to happen. That density is just never going to happen again.
No. But the thing that's interesting is that, even with the vaccines, the risk doesn't go to zero, and it never will. No. But as we become more comfortable with this new accepted risk, and even, some of the side effects from some of the vaccines are horrible, but they're very, very minute. So it's just an interesting thing to think about, like where we focus our fears, and the newness of COVID is why it is more frightening.
Right.
Our indoor air pollution and air pollution in general has been one of those things that is very detrimental to our physical health. It just takes a long time. You have the coal skies in England, right? You think about that in the Industrial
Right.
Revolution when
Right.
you couldn't even see to walk, the streets became so smoky that there were some times when you just couldn't even see through that London fog.
Okay, so I'm gonna reel this in, Kristy, because this is not solution oriented. This is
Okay, but I have a solution that I
Okay.
want to talk about from today's
All right.
headlines.
Good. Yes. Tell me about a solution from today's headlines that got you feeling more optimistic as opposed to the dark coal.
So this week we are focusing on healthy kitchens and how do we make our kitchens healthier. And that's the actual physical appliances there. It's also the food sources. And how do we think about this as we construct our homes of the future, as we modify our habits, getting back into the world as we find our new footing in this new after times from COVID and the pandemic. And so the headline that I wanted to focus on, and we've written about this a bit in the past few months on the Optimist Daily, but the headline reads, Electric Future, Why We Need to Make All Stoves Gas-Free.
And this is controversial, right? A lot of people are like, wait, I won't give it up, but there's a really good reason for it.
There is. And I'm a cook. I love making delicious food. I love having my gas range. Full disclosure, I really enjoy cooking on a natural gas range because it allows me to get things hot quickly, and it's just much more control. You have much more control over the temperatures in the food you're cooking. There's something about cooking with fire, even though it's a cleaner fire than like a wood burning stove, but it's still, the flames are there, so you can sear the outside, you can roast your peppers, or you can toast your tortillas, or whatever you're making. It's sort of fun to use the flames.
Well, and we have been fascinated with fire as humans for a very long time. So,
And right now, about a third of Americans cook with natural gas in their homes. And a lot of, especially chefs, are really into natural gas appliances. Natural gas is cleaner than coal, for example, or wood fire. But cooking on natural gas actually releases some pretty intense indoor pollution that we don't even think about. Homes with natural gas have nitrogen dioxide concentrations of 50 to 400% higher than all electric homes. And this is particularly detrimental in homes with poor ventilation. So, in a lot of cases in California, it's not even required to have an extraction fan over your stove. So it means it just goes right back into your house when you're cooking. The other problem with natural gas is even though it's cleaner than cooking with oil or coal, it's still quite a powerful greenhouse gas. Gas stoves are kind of energy guzzlers compared to electric versions. It's just that natural gas is really cheap. So the stove top is not necessarily a huge expense, but the infrastructure for gas stoves, which supports the use of gas furnaces and water heaters, you burn large amounts of it. And because it's been so cheap historically, the incentives for super efficiency is pretty low. Anyway, so there's a movement afoot in the world to move away from using gas cooking and gas appliances in our homes. And there's certain municipalities around the country in the United States and also in Canada, for example, that have put new codes in place for all new construction to move away from using gas in new buildings. So all electric homes, that's the push towards the future. And we have to move that way if we're going to get off of the fossil fuel infrastructure, which most of our society currently rests on. It's a baby step, but banning natural gas in new construction, which cities like Ojai and San Francisco have done, countries like Canada are moving in that direction. So in the meantime, and so I know, like Amelia was talking about getting her mom, who's a chef, to, in her new home, look for all electric. And she's like, no, I want my gas stove. But it's possible to cook really efficiently, especially on advanced electric cooking technology like induction stoves, which has super sensitivity for making them very responsive to changes in temperature. I mean, you need the right kind of cookware. Chef Nguyen Tran went all electric in his Los Angeles restaurants and tells The Atlantic, this story was sourced from The Atlantic, that he's confident that with some practice, every chef can learn how to cook just as proficiently with induction cooking. So this is an article all about that. Read it. It's very in-depth, and I have my gas stove, but I'm trying to wean myself off of it. And at some point I'll move to all electric.
Well, look, we know in the ideal world, everybody would do everything you're supposed to do exactly as you should on the Optimist Daily. We have all the solutions. You check the boxes every day, but it's going to take time. It's going to take transition time. I think every cook who has loved the experience of a gas stove is really going to it's going to be tooth and nails. And we will get there. You and I have to buy in ourselves.
We do.
It's going to take time. But in the interim, while we are moving toward all electric, there are things we can do to make a difference in our kitchens today. And that leads me to my solution, which is 5 easy ways you can conserve more water. Now, last week, I kind of gave 5 tips on how to get back into being eco-conscious as we return to this new version of another world. Today, I am talking about water. And water is something that's really, really important in my community right now. I'm going to buzz through these 5 tips and then talk a little bit about one that really I'd like to flush out. Haha, pun intended. Okay, so number 1, fix a leaky faucet. Did you know that the average American home has plumbing leaks that waste nearly 10,000 gallons of water per year? Yes, literally, the home you are in right now probably is wasting 10,000 gallons of water per year simply because you haven't fixed that one annoying leaky faucet, or, the thing that you turn the faucet on with the handles, right? That one that always seems to kind of be wet, the toilet that doesn't seem sealed properly. All of these itty bitty little things actually waste.
The drip of your garden hose, for example.
The drip of your garden hose, which you don't even notice. All of these things are wasting a ton of water. What they're also doing is costing you money. So fixing these faucets, you will see a reduction in your water bill, and you will also be reducing your use of water. Second, save wastewater. Now, this is the one I'm going to dive into a little bit, but next time you heat up water for a bath or do the dishes, stick a gallon jug or bucket under the faucet as it warms up, right? The water that's running down the drain, you could be using it to do things like fill pet bowls or drinking water or watering the plants, because it's still really good water. It just wasn't hot enough for your shower.
Speaking of pet bowls, by the way, I always use my, Tucker's bowls. I put them into the houseplants. I put them outside. I don't just
exactly what it says too, right? So, I know that like my daughter won't ever finish a cup of water. So all of our plants in our house, I don't really have a regular watering schedule. I just, whenever Brennan doesn't finish water, I just pour it into a plant instead of pouring it down the sink. Cook pasta in its sauce. Now this one is going to take some training, and I need to dive further into how this is supposed to work, because we do eat a lot of pasta here, but Americans actually use over 100 gallons of water a year just cooking pasta alone. And it sounds like you can just cook it in the sauce. I'm going to have to dig into that one. Consider the flush, right? So you've heard the phrase, if it's mellow, let it yellow. But this is also, don't use the toilet to flush other things. Don't use the toilet to dispose of tissues, old food.
Oh, and certainly don't flush those wipes. All of those wipes that we've been doing.
Don't flush your wipes.
That's
so
killing our sewage system.
Exactly. That one's really interesting because, I have always had flushable cat litter, which is one of the most ecological because it's a decomposing pine cat litter. But now we're figuring out what to do with it because we have a septic tank and we can't flush it down septic. So I'm trying to figure out whether or not my cat litter can go into my compost, whether it's a thing. Anyway, last but not least, skip the burger. Just a little bit less meat consumption will reduce your water usage. Now, I have to go momentarily because I'm a few minutes already late to a press conference in my little community. We have a development across the street, across the highway, that has issued a permit request to dump its wastewater. Now, this is treated gray wastewater, but treated wastewater directly into the ponds in our neighborhood. I love the opportunity to go and talk about this as an economically viable alternative. You can use gray water to water plants, to water lawns, to water landscaping, and the earth itself can filter out the gray water, anything that would be toxic that would end up in the ponds. You can't pour it directly into ponds without altering the pond's safety and, really hurting the wildlife, but you can water lawns with it. So I am on my way out the door right now to go to this press conference to meet the folks in my little community and hear what they have to say, but also really push for an economically viable solution that is also eco-friendly, because it could reduce the water costs for everybody who lives here by using gray water to water our landscaping, and it will save our ponds. And this is something at the Optimist Daily we get really, really passionate about, or our ways of creating economic opportunity, prosperity, and abundance through ecologically conscious and sustainable actions. And that really, Kristy, if we go back to it, that is what electrifying our kitchens are about, is that they're both healthier. They're also more economically viable, and you can use renewable resources in order to electrify your kitchen. So you might not have the same crispy tortillas, but you will still have something really delicious. So we have a few more headlines on the Optimist Daily today. I mean, as always, we've got a ton more headlines, but a few that pop out. There's the countertop device turning food scraps into compost. Scientists discover a way to reverse obesity in mice. Will humans be next? Let's see. Washington State bans the use of for-profit detention facilities. And this whole week, guys, on the Optimist Daily, you're going to get great kitchen solutions. Please head over there. Please share it on Instagram and all of your social media channels. And thanks, everybody, for listening to the Optimist Daily Update.
And it is Earth Day week, so that's exactly why we're focusing on this. These are solutions that are totally in our control that can really have an impact both in our lives, but also in making the planet a little bit cleaner.
A little bit cleaner, a little bit better. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening. Please consider becoming an emissary on the optimistdaily.com. Just $5 a month. Support reader-funded, independent journalism. Be part of the solution-changing consciousness in addressing our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset. Let's keep the Optimist Daily free to all who need it, supported by those who can. Everybody have a great, great Tuesday.
Talk to you tomorrow.